All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started. We'll let the lawyers jump in the middle as they continue to log in. First off, I want to say thank you for everyone for joining us this afternoon, for taking time out of their busy schedules to jump on this webinar. It's difficult. We really appreciate it. The purpose of today's webinar is to go through a demonstration of our updated P.U.R.E rating engine. Before we get into that, I just want to go over a couple housekeeping items. First off, everyone is on mute. So talk into your phone all you want, but we won't hear you. Secondly, you can ask questions into the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll be holding a Q&A at the end of the webinar, but if you have something you'd like to bring up in the middle, go ahead and ask your question, and we'll try to it if we can. Also, you probably noticed that the screen is small. You can enlarge your screen by clicking on the arrows on the upper right hand of this portion of the box where you can see our pictures. So we're going to try to keep this to 40 minutes because we know your time is valuable. Lastly, there's going to be a varying level of knowledge of the legacy rating system and our Lloyd's products on this call. So some of this information might be repetitive to some of you, but keep in mind for others it's going to be brand new. So we're going to jump right into it. So who am I? My name is John Poucher. I'm the sales manager here with Abram Interstate Insurance Services. I've been with the company for 4 years, been with insurance for 6. And I'm going to hand it over to Megan.
Thank you. I am Megan Fitzgerald. I am the Personal Lines Team Lead, and I've been with Abram Interstate since 2004. And we're getting into our next slide here. This is P.U.R.E. P.U.R.E is Personal Lines Underwriting Rating Engine. We developed this back in 2005 as to fill the need for our agents to be able to submit risk 24/7 and receive quick indications. We know that ease of use is very valuable in this day and age, and to offer the ability to really ballpark the premium.
Our quote: P.U.R.E is an online rating engine that we created for our Lloyd's of London products, personal lines products, for our HO3, HO8, DP3, and DP1 forms. A big misnomer out in the marketplace is that Lloyd's is the same no matter where you go. Actually, the Lloyd's contracts and forms are different depending upon every MGA and their particular relationship with Lloyd's of London. So our forms and rating and policy issuance is going to be completely unique to our relationship with Abram Interstate. As I mentioned, you can rate HO3, HO8, DP3, DP1, as well as 1 to 4 family dwellings, owner primary, owner secondary, tenant occupied, vacation rentals, and Megan will go into further named insureds that are available. And then dwelling fire limits on the system, you can rate between $50,000 and $750,000, and for homeowners, $100,000 and $750,000 with a $200,000 minimum limit for Southern California. You can submit greater values than $750,000 through the website. You just will not receive an instant rate at the end. It will just come to us for immediate review.
And the benefit of rating online. It's really, as I said, to submit and receive estimates 24/7 around the clock. Of course, it can be complicated. It requests a lot of unnecessary information, so we wanted to condense as much as possible into our online application and get to the point of the risk. What is trying to integrate our application, all the supplements, and forms so that it's very easy for you to deliver everything to your customer all at once. You'll notice no need to complete a diligent search or SL2 form. We've done that for you. The great thing with this new enhancement is it is now available across multiple platforms and browsers. Some of you may recall it was restricted to Internet Explorer and within certain versions, so we've made it available for Chrome, Foxfire, multiple platforms. You can see it on your cell phone and on tablets. as well as we have our current incentive going on right now, so make sure you take advantage of that. It's not for binding, but for submissions as well.
All right, Megan. All right, so how do we get to the P.U.R.E. rater? To get to the P.U.R.E. rater and rate our Lloyd's of London products, you go to our website at abraminterstate.com. But before we get to the P.U.R.E. system, I want to point out a few key areas about our website. First off, all the navigation throughout the website is embedded through these banners and links at the top of the website. Here on our homepage, you'll see the main lines of business that we write: agribusiness insurance, commercial insurance, and personal insurance. Obviously, we're going to focus on personal insurance today with the Lloyd's of London products. But if you have any interest or you write multiple lines, know that we do these. This is a great reference tool to find out all the other products that we are capable of writing. We actually started this agency 20 years ago focusing on agribusiness insurance. Features on the website as well as the iHelp chat feature right here. You can chat directly with our account managers here in Rockland, California. This is designed to expedite some of the tedious tasks that can come along with rating, servicing, and buying business wholesalers. So where's the status of a renewal? Where's the status of a quote? Servicing existing count. Is this policy still active? Is the insured paid a bill? Those types of items. It really helps expedite those small, tedious kind of questions. Our FAQ page right here, our frequently asked questions page. On this page, you're going to find a lot of answers to questions you might have about doing business with Abram Interstate, especially if you maybe only know us for one particular line of business. We expand upon how to rate and quote and bind business, other than maybe what you already know, or if you're brand new to us as well. On our blog, we do a blog every Tuesday and Thursday. We do a product highlight, and then we do business tips as well. We've been receiving great feedback over a recent series that we're doing about SEO, or search engine optimization. It's about a 6-part series right now. It's about to conclude, so you can go here and look and use those resources to help expand your business in your local area. We are on social media. If you are, please follow us on the different social media platforms, especially on our LinkedIn page. We'd really like to have you follow us there. At the top left, you're going to see instant quote, forms and applications, a broker agreement paperwork, anything that you might need to get updated. We'll ask for E&O, W-9 information periodically, so if you need those forms, they can be found there. Forms and applications tab, I'm actually going to click into this. You have a big library of forms and applications that you might need for doing business with us. It's not a complete catalog. One thing I would like to point out is the commercial property and casualty quick quote. If you do write commercial business in addition to personal lines, this is a very easy single-page application to get quote for 95% of our commercial products here at Abram Interstate. And home, actually quote on P.U.R.E., where that will be found is you're going to go to the Instant Quotes tab on the upper left-hand side of the page. You're going to scroll down to the P.U.R.E. header here, and you're going to click on Home, Dwelling, Fire, or Seasonal Dwelling. Once you do that, you'll be routed to our login page. If you log in, go ahead and log in. If you're new to the system, you want to click the Self-Register Here button, where you can create your own unique username and password. The password does not have any requirements to it except for that it's 4 characters long. Then fill out the rest of the information about you and your agency, hit send, and you will be sent a username and password. And once you go ahead and log in.
John, what I'm going to do now is take over and do a quick little walkthrough of a live quote here. This is your landing page. This is the home screen for the agent. Up in the top corner, you're going to notice there's a welcome there. If you click on that, you can view your profile, log out as well. When you click your profile, you do have the option to update email addresses as well as change your password. You can update your physical location as well, or phone numbers, fax numbers, things like that. Do please make sure that you always update your email with the most current contact for your agency. This is the primary source of communication through this system, so the more up to date we are, the better we can contact you with approvals or risks. This homepage landing screen will always show you the list of your current prospects. It is going to show you the most current week's worth of applicants. In the event, though, that you need to find an application that you maybe worked on, say, a week ago or as far back as 2-3 years ago, you can use your search field here to look by ID, name, dates, and more, and just hit quick search, and it will pull up a customer. So everything that you rate through this system will be housed indefinitely, and you retrieve it. When you get into the quote, you will notice there's no save button. This system automatically saves all of your submissions once you begin them. So you can have normal information entered. If you need to close out, or if you walk over a while and get timed out, it will automatically save. On this page, you want to take note of our edit and view print options. For that's incomplete, you do have the option to go in, edit, and make any revisions that you may need. So if you want to change the named insured, change the coverages, if you realize the address was wrong, you can go in and use that option. However, once the risk is submitted for review, the edit option will no longer be available. You will need to contact our office so that we can unlock that for you, which we're happy to do. And to get a copy of the application, you can use this view print option here and access the application as well as a copy of the approved quote. What we did with this latest upgrade was take everything that used to previously, if you worked on the old system, was up here as headers that weren't really easy to use, and get everything down, put it right at the customer screen so it's a little bit better right at your fingertips here. What I'm going to do is walk you through a homeowner's quote from start to finish. And any questions that come up, we do want you to wait until the end for our chat feature. However, if something pops up, please feel free and we'll address it at the end as well. For the quote, we're going to use some basic information, and we do urge you, if you're new to the system or if you just want a refresher and want to play around in there a little bit, feel free to go in and do some test quotes. If you want to do test or Mickey Mouse, put your agency name in there, feel free to do that. You can let us know at the end that it's just a test or dummy quote, and we'll address it for you properly. Year built, this does come up as a topic quite often, where what built will be the best policy form. Really what we're looking for is a home that's been built or updated within the last 25-30 years. Any older, you will need to enter complete update information in order to get a replacement cost policy. You'll note that the year built had an asterisk just like this. These are the really pertinent questions that do have to be answered in order to generate an indication before you can even submit for final approval. Here, there are many available options. As you can see, most are acceptable. However, do take note, space heaters are the one item that we cannot accept within our guidelines. Construction type as well, many of these are available. We do underwrite manufactured and modular homes. However, we don't rate them through the system. They do have to be rated in-house under a mobile home policy form. Number of families, we do write 1 to 4 dwellings. 5 or more does have to be placed with commercial lines. 4 is completely acceptable with a personal product. For class, you'll notice we don't use fire line scoring. We strive to use protection class to generate rate. So if you see that you can put in a 1 through 5, you'll get a certain rate. When you put in a protection class 9 or 10, for instance, these fields will open up. item that we heard from our agents and we took as a great source of feedback was to try and integrate some of the supplements that were a source of frustration because we would either have to require them to present the quote to you or require them prior to binding. So what we've done is taken the information that we need, integrated in here, and made it a little bit easier for you to provide us with all of that up front and avoid any snags after the fact. When the information through here, it will show up on the quote as well, or sorry, on the application. So everything that you enter does show up on the app. I'm going to this as a 4 just for rating. Types. You'll see there are a number of different property types available. Note though that some may not be acceptable. What we do is provide you all the common types that we see, and you will receive an error notice if it's an unacceptable type of property. For usage as well, primary, seasonal, secondary, vacant, we want to give you the options, and if you were to select unoccupied or vacant while in a homeowner's program, it's going to tell you it's unacceptable. We have other price lines available for that though. Here for number of losses, you can see none to 4 or more. The system is programmed to now rate correctly for the number of losses as well as change policy form if necessary. So what we notice is further on I'll show you where you select your policy form, and for instance if you select an HO3 but you put in 3 or more losses, you may find that the system downgrades it to an HO8 form. That may be the only acceptable form, or we may be able to rate it as HO3 with a different deductible or rate. At the very end, I'll show you a spot where you can enter comments and let us know if you're open to any adjustments in order to make the risk qualify for a better form. More information, if you have that now, that's great. Otherwise, there is another section down the line. I'll show you where you can enter that, as well as submit it at the time of binding. Another question about losses, and we're going to go with no right now. Updates. This is one of the most important areas of this quoting system, because the more information we know, the better, and if we can generate a better policy form for you, we will absolutely do our best to do that. You can list these as 100% replaced, provided the dwelling has been properly serviced and maintained as needed throughout the years. On a home built in 1976, we may not expect you to completely route all of the plumbing and wiring systems, but they need to be serviced as needed to maintain the integrity of the home. You can absolutely select 100% replaced. In this coverages section, you do have the option to select an HO3 or an HO8. Of course, 3 is going to be a replacement cost policy, give you the best coverage available. You can enter any limit between those parameters we outlined earlier. If you enter a higher limit, it is still fine. You may submit it through the system, but you do not get a valid indication. It does give you various options. However, here and in a later section, there is a notice that it may not change the premium. And the reason for that is that tipping that you submit on here is going to be rated at the absolute bottom rate available. We're trying to give you the best quote possible. And there may not be additional room for credit to be applied by increasing the deductible. If there is, the system absolutely will apply it. If not, feel free to ask or chat or put in our comment section and we'll address it for you. Dwelling valuation. Typically, an HO3 is always going to be at replacement cost. An HO8 will be at actual cash value. You do have the option to select extended replacement cost while you're quoting an HO3 form. That's going to give you 125% extended replacement cost. Evaluation, again, replacement cost or actual cash value is available. However, we strongly suggest replacement cost is always selected. You do have the option to select actual cash value while quoting an HO8. So on the screen, you'll see that it's to give you a very rough indication based on the information that we've entered here. The zip code, the coverage limits, very basic info to give you a ballpark figure. As it's not a firm quote, so binding cannot be requested at this point. If you try and bind off of that. There could be a situation where we may need to adjust the rate, so we do strongly suggest you always continue through, submit it for underwriting approval, and get our final decision before you present the terms.
The key is premium indication, everyone,
Exactly.
not a premium quote.
Exactly. So here we get into the actual underwriting part of the application process. One of the first questions you'll notice is trust, corporation, or LLC. We absolutely will write a policy in the name of a trust corp or LLC. Some companies require it to be an additional insured, but you can write it in the name holder spot. If you were to select yes, some additional fields will open up. Again, the more information we have, the better. This is another section where we did our best to integrate an additional supplement that was needed after the fact. And it's now all here up front so we can get all of this underwriting out of the way. Again, make the process a little bit speedier for you and your customer. And some of these are not asterisks. If you have information to enter, that's great. If you don't, you can bypass them. Again, the more the better. If there are additional applicants, you would enter that, such as a spouse or additional named insured potentially. I'm going to dive into just filling out some information here. Now, the system will not recognize the location just based on the zip code, so you will want to make sure you give us the correct city information, but it will pull through county. I've heard from time to time there may be a zip code that is not recognized in the system. There are new zip codes that occasionally will pop up and be determined by the county. And what we ask is that you enter a nearby zip code, and in the comment section you can put what the correct zip code is, and then we'll get it appropriately. If it's enough zip code, there shouldn't be any change in rate. Of course, you have the field to enter that. If not, we leave it the same. We don't require occupation, but we do want to make sure our customers are employed or have other means to sustain the policy premium. Again, this information is not asterisk, or you can give us, the better. And we'll switch to our next page to get back into some underwriting questions. So this is one of the areas where we received the most feedback from our agents. It was a little tedious to go through every single question, radio button, and hit each one individually. It was very easy to select the wrong one. And so what we've done is created a shortcut here. You can answer them all yes, or you can answer them all no. We want to caution you, however, that there are some questions that may still be answered yes. By clicking all no, you still have the option to address individual questions as needed, such as this first one, where you have 200 brush clearance at least. If you have a business on premise, for instance, and yes, you'll notice a pop-up window says it will require some additional review, and this exclusion is going to be added, and there are some additional fields for you to fill out. Again, another area of feedback was that we want to get all of this information from you up front to prevent some back and forth with the underwriting process, so you get a more accurate and bindable quote at the beginning. What I've done with this update is really try to listen to all of the feedback we got from our agents, both good and negative on the system, and really implement those changes. So we are still welcoming any additional feedback to make the system as great as it can be. Heat sources. We again offer multiple heat sources. As I stated earlier, space heaters, really the only one that we don't want, but all of these others are acceptable. You'll notice if you select wood stove, some additional fields open up with some more questions. This was a supplement that we integrated into the system and worked out really wonderful. It does cut down on the amount of paperwork required after binding. Electrical service, they do have to be on circuit breakers. We don't take anything with fuses or knob and tube, so breakers are the preferred wiring type. Additional fields for roof type, select the one that's appropriate. And go back to our update information. So what it does is the system is going to pull through any of the information that you entered up front, but you have an option to correct anything if needed. So if you find out from your customer really it was in fact updated and you didn't enter it before, you have another opportunity. If you find out it's a different year, you can change that. In fire hydrant and fire station, we do prefer fire hydrant as publicly recognized, but we'll take alternative water sources as well, and distance to fire department in miles. If there are features such as fire extinguishers, central station alarms, things of that nature, that's great to enter that information so we can consider it for underwriting review, but it's either not required field, so if they don't have them, that's okay. Just want as much detail as possible. Here, coverages page. You have opportunity to review the policy form. If you entered some losses in the property or had entered an older home without updates, even though you selected an HO3 on the first page, you may see that this form changed to an HO8. While you land on this page, always take note of this very top item here and make sure it is the policy form that you're electing. If it's not, you want to make sure that on the comment section when we get to the end, you do indicate the policy form you're trying to obtain and you feel the risk should be read as a replacement cost form. If you need to adjust your coverage limits, you do so right here, and it can be changed before you sit for approval. And notice that the other coverages all change to fall in line with standard percentages. Through your extended replacement cost as selected. Sometimes you may find that if the property, for instance, was downgraded to an HO8 and you feel that it really should be an HO3, this may be changed to actual cash value. Make sure that at your comment section you indicate that you also wanted it reviewed with extended replacement costs as an HO3 if eligible, so that we don't lose this additional coverage that you did initially want, because it will be removed because the system knows that an H8 cannot have extended replacement costs. Deductible. See a note here where it's not going to necessarily generate a premium change if it's already at the lowest rate available. So if we were to change it to a $2,500 or $5,000, that's great, but if it's not going to credit your policy, it will change it back to $1,000. Reason being, we assume you will not want to take a higher deductible when it's not going to give you any kind of price break. If for any reason you do want a higher deductible, even though you know it's not going to generate premiums, please feel free to let us know, and we'll take that into consideration. The three policies do come standard with a $2,500 water deductible. It is non-negotiable, but we can adjust that if needed in order to make a risk qualify for an HO3. There's multiple water losses, or maybe it has an older plumbing system update. Any within Lloyd's can be changed and altered to make the risk qualify as long as we can apply appropriate rating and deductible. So it's a great feature of our Lloyd's program. Here are options to change your liability limits, 100 to 500,000, and medical from 1 to 5,000 as well. And when we go to the next screen, before I fill out any information here, I do want to show you, if you found out that you wanted to go back to a previous page, you do have the option to always scroll down and use your previous or next buttons. Features of our program is we also have a tab up here that makes the pages a little bit more easy to navigate. So you can always go back to another page without having to click through each one individually and adjust anything that you may need to adjust, and as well as not have to go back through each one. Next button, you can go directly to the next page that you need to for more information. Then at this page, I'm going to go on to our optional coverages tab. So it's a little bit more easy to navigate and switch between screens. So here we have personal injury, ordinance law, workers' comp. One of the common questions that we receive is, do I have to add workers' comp coverage in order to have incidental. This is an optional coverage, and it is really only intended if you have a full-time residence employee. If you have an incidental gardener or housekeeper from time to time that does not work extended hours, that is already included in the homeowner's policy, so you don't want to add this because it will add additional premium to your quote that you don't need necessarily. If you have additional other structures such as a guest home, mother-in-law quarters, solar panels that you need to cover, you can enter that information in here and we'll take that into account and it will be rated on the indication as well. Additional fields, so you can add as much as needed. If there is more than this, you can include that in your comments section. However, it may require some additional review and discussion. Personal property and inflation guard, we do have the option to do either none, or you can leave it blank, or we offer 4% inflation guard on HO3 policies. What Lloyd's is we can schedule items. This is a really great feature that we would like to see more people take advantage of, because there are a lot of homes out there that do have collectibles, jewelry, fine arts, things of that nature that really may not be properly covered under your personal property coverage. So schedule an item, make sure that your customer is fully covered in the event of a loss. And here you can see you would just enter your limit, a description. There may be some additional underwriting required, and we will need appraisals to add items. This is a great jumping off point to get the ball rolling on a quick indication as far as the rate and know what kind of risk we're going to be underwriting. Again, some additional questions here, some basic things that we've taken off of the Accord application that are pretty common on there that all companies need. But we want to point out that we will take things without current coverage. So Lloyd's does not have a problem with a lapse in coverage. Anything with an open loss, but we are open to non-renewals and insured have just lapsed. And before, actually, I will go back to this page really quick here and go into our losses, because I'm going to show you one field that we did adjust in this upgrade is opening up items for you to enter more information. So it has been a loss. We've given you a drop down of the more common types of losses available. And though none of these are asterisked, as much information as you can provide, the better we can underwrite the risk. If you don't have any of this available, or if you have just pieces, that's great. We still want you to fill in as much as possible. And the reason we don't make this required field is because we know that sometimes you are just quoted and may need to get that information later. So we're at a spot where we can enter mortgage information if that comes up. If you only know the name of the mortgage or just know there is going to be a mortgage, feel free to enter TBD or lender number 1, anything like that, to indicate that there is in fact going to be a lender on the policy. You don't have all of this ready to go, that's totally fine, you can still submit it through. If there are additional insureds required, another pop-up lets you know that there will be some more information needed. But I want to get all of this information from you up front so that we can get back to you as far as whether it's going to be acceptable or whether we just need some more details to underwrite it properly. And we go into our next screen, which is our validation page. This is an important page here because you will see, as well as this one main notification, you will note at times there may be additional boxes that pop up here for telling you that there are certain fields that you may have entered that could make the risk unacceptable, such as you have an open claim or something that may require additional underwriting review. In the case that you entered something maybe with the wrong information or you meant to click something else, you have an option just like here to go back to that specific page and correct the information before you hit submit underwriting. This is not a premium quote. It is an indication. We do want to remind you of that. We stress that you should not release the terms to your customer only because there could be a case where we need to revise the rate or possibly remarket it elsewhere. So to eliminate any kind of frustration for you and your customer, we do request that until you receive a formal approval from our quote, you refrain from releasing those terms. But it gives you a great ballpark to know whether we're going to be competitive to other quotes or we're going to possibly be able to offer you anything altogether. This section here. This was another area where we took your feedback and were able to finally implement this. We did have a prior comment section that some of you who were familiar with the system know not have worked properly in the past. So our program has done a great job. This is now integrated into the application. So we do see all of the information you enter here. If you have a target premium, if you're looking for a specific policy form, if it's one of those situations where you see that the system is giving you an HO8 and you really know that although you cannot confirm the year of updates, it's a very well-maintained property, maybe have a URL listing that you want to paste in here so that we can look at the property, this is a great spot to do that. Our promotional code field, this is brand new because we are really wanting to promote our system right now, really wanting to give our agents an opportunity to earn some prizes for the work they do. So time to time you will see some flyers and posts out which will give you a promotional code to enter. Right now we have our P.U.R.E. Now campaign. So by entering P.U.R.E. Now, you are eligible for prizes not only for binding policies, but also for quoting and just submitting your risk to us. So we appreciate all of the information that you can submit over. You have to select an agent. It won't let you submit until you select the person in your office that's actually submitting the risk. So I'm going to select myself, my name here, and submit to underwriting. Once this is submitted to underwriting, you will receive a confirmation page. This means that it is now emailed over to our office. We have notification. So there's no need to contact us to make sure that we've received it or that it's going to be reviewed. Please rest assured it absolutely will be. Your time is valuable, so we're going to do our best to get these processed as quickly as possible. You have an option here to the application. This is everything that we have just filled out online. And what we've done is take this application in lieu of an ACORD app. So if you've completed this risk online, there is no need for you to fill out a separate ACORD application. This is all you need to print and sign. So there's a spot for your applicant to sign and a spot for the producer in your office. We will have the D1 form, all-inclusive, a spot for the customer to sign. Again, notice there is no SL2 diligent search form. We've done it for you, one less headache to worry about. You can also do a copy of the quote letter. Now this is, again, just an indication. It's going to give you the ballpark figure as it lies right now. Everything is subject to change, but it will give you a great idea of what you're looking at as far as the premium. You can go back to your home page and see that the submission is now under review. Once it's under review, again, we are notified. We will go in and take a look as quickly as possible, but here is your status pane. You can view anything that's incomplete, review, or potentially approved or needing more information. If you forgot or missed printing your application, again, as long as you have your customer selected, click there and view your application once more, or your letter as well. So this is a brief run through of our homeowners product under our new platform that we are very, very excited and proud to have rolled out to you. Again, any additional feedback, we absolutely welcome that because you are what makes this system work, and this is the reason that we've done what we can to make this as great as possible.
Again, really appreciate that thorough run through of our new system. Well, we're coming up to the end of our time this afternoon. I want to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy schedule to be with us. This is the point now we're going to open it up for question and answer. If your time is tight and you need to jump off, we totally understand, and you can do that at this point. To get a hold of us, we're going to leave our contact information here on the left side of the screen. You can always call us, email us at marketing@abrahamrealestate.com, go to our webpage and chat with us, whatever is easiest for you. All right, let's take a look at the Q&A here. Rita asked, how do you determine the lowest premium for a risk?
So which premium, we don't really have a bottom premium. We do say that our minimum written is $350. That would be very, very minimal limit to quote. What we do is we have certain rating bands, and we apply those through the system. So provided you're in a certain protection class band, you're going to qualify for the lowest available price rate. If higher PC, it's a different rating structure. So the system is very black and white when it comes to protection class banding, and that's going to apply the appropriate rate for the risk that you're submitting.
Very nice. You mentioned the $2,500 water deductible. Can you be more specific as to what type of water loss you are referring to? I can answer this, but my assumption is that it's any water loss.
That's very true. It is very hard to pinpoint the exact type of loss because there are so many different variables that can be taken into account. There's kind of a common statement that we tell our agents, if your customer wants to submit a claim, even though it may be subject to a higher deductible, please go ahead and still do so. Because so many different factors can be involved, it may seem like it's a water loss, and potentially it's a wind-driven water loss, where it may fall under a different deductible. So primarily, for your question, it's seen as plumbing disruptions, water in through a hole in your roof, things like that. It could be just basic water losses, but again, there's such a broad range.
Is quoting available on FSC? I'll take this one for me. And the answer to that is yes. However, I'll give you a caveat of that you're quoting Lloyd's business. Lloyd's business is typically stressed in some manner, whether it's close to a high brush zone or it has some loss or it maybe has a lapse. And so you see a lot of the supplements on a lot of the items that we added into the P.U.R.E. rater. That's all in an effort to give you the most accurate indication. Even though Megan did say it's an indication and we do need to firm it up prior to giving you a quote, FSC does not have a lot of those items, and so the initial rate you'll get on FSC is not always the most accurate. But you can definitely fill out the initial steps on FSC and then send it over to us and we'll come back with a quote. I would just say that the premium tends to vary greater on that platform than just going to our P.U.R.E. rater. Will your system upload from a completed ACORD application?
That's a great question and item to consider with some additional future upgrades to the system. So although it will not do that at this moment, I think that's a really great idea to throw into our programming at some point.
It is. It's a great suggestion. It's a very difficult task to complete just technically on the back end. Insurance IT is a pretty complicated industry. We're looking at some options, not for this, but for other, just our total business in general, to be able to do items of this nature. See, next question. You also mentioned that older homes have been maintained, might be considered. What type of proof of maintaining the systems is required or acceptable? Great question.
So I'll take this one. We are pretty easygoing when it comes to those items. We truly don't require proof aside from your word. So by you filling out that application to the best of your ability, advising us that it is updated, That's what we're taking into consideration. All risks are subject to inspection after binding, and so if we do see that something may not make sense with the information we received initially, we'll address it with you and give you an opportunity to, at that point, give us additional information or proof, such as proof of a certificate for roofing repair or a licensed contractor to sign off on things like plumbing or electrical systems. But there is no formal proof required.
The big catch is that we will inspect and just validate that those items are true and accurate that you put in the application. Thank you, kind words, Karen. Really appreciate that. Is there any flexibility in coverage amounts for contents, personal property, or ADL specifically? Can you take a lower percentage?
For that one too, with the policy form that these are written through, it is a standard ISO HO3 form, DP3 form. With that, there are certain percentages that we truly need to adhere to. So although we can entertain scheduling items for personal property, we generally won't go below a 70 or 50% personal property threshold, as well as a 20% loss of use threshold. There are times when we may consider a 10% loss of use in extreme situations, but this is to be discussed with your underwriter a little bit more in depth. So generally the percentages that you see in the system are what we need to maintain for our underwriting.
Rita, is there any change to the animal liability on the newest contract? I'll change that. I'll take that one. No, there is no change. Animal liability is the total exclusion on the Lloyd's product. In general, Lloyd's is not. They are big property writers. The liability, they have to have it on the policy to be able to sell it. But they prefer writing property as to any liability. So any extraneous liability they want to take away. And then last question that I have so far, can other structures be excluded? I'll let Megan take that one.
So great question. The answer on a homeowner's is no. We do not exclude other structures because it is built into the policy provision itself. There may be an extreme case where if there's another structure with a separate address, we have the potential to work up an endorsement to the risk fit, and we can possibly exclude that one specific structure. But again, it's in a very extreme case, and it's not the standard. On a dwelling fire policy form, we absolutely can exclude other structures, and it's one item that we do very well with our dwelling fire to make a risk qualify, especially if there is a business in another structure or something else going on that would normally make another carrier decline the risk.
A question just came through. If a home does not qualify due to brush distance, can you add a difference in conditions endorsement excluding fire, ECE, VMM instead of canceling the policy?
Unfortunately, with this program, we do not do a difference in conditions. With our Lloyd's brush appetite, it is much more flexible than our admitted products, obviously, and they don't really offer a DIC policy with our contract. We do take some pretty severe areas, though, and if we can apply a proper rate and make the risk fit, there's a chance of writing it. If it's a decline for brush, it's an extreme case that we just absolutely could not place.
Another question, these are coming in last minute here. Did you say a personal fire stand / hydrant will count as a public fire hydrant for the distance to hydrant question?
To clarify, it won't count as a public fire hydrant, but it will count as an alternative water source. When you were selecting a class 9 or 10 and you're asked if there is a hydrant within 1,000 feet, you would normally answer no to that. And there's another question that's going to ask if there's what alternative water sources, if any, apply. That's where you would say maybe there is a personal fire stand or tanks and pumps on the property. So again, it doesn't count as public. It is a water source that we will take into account when underwriting.
All right, that's it for the questions, everyone. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Yep. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us via the contact information on your screen. Thank you very, very, very much. Have a great afternoon, everyone.